Yo, what is up guys? Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So this video is just my quick initial thoughts on a fight that has been confirmed and scheduled for February the 1st of next year. A fight that goes down at light heavyweight between David Benavidez and David Morrell. I think this is an excellent fight, to tell you the truth. Two guys who are in and around their primes. David Benavidez, 27 years old. David Morrell, 26 years old. In fact, maybe both of these guys can still get better, but both guys are in their physical primes. You look at both fighters are pretty aggressive in a sense. Both guys like to put their shots together. Both guys primarily like to fight on the front foot. I'd say the difference really is that Benavidez puts more shots together. He's a higher output fighter. Whereas David Morrell is a little more careful with his shot placement. He's a little more cerebral. And I would say that he is also a harder puncher. I'd say he's the harder puncher out of the two. Both guys have decent enough power, but I think Morrell's power is a level above Benavidez. That's just the impression I get. Of course, Benavidez goes into this fight with more experience. He's got a record of 29-0, whereas Morrell only has a record of 11-0. Benavidez has fought guys like Vodzik, although Vodzik didn't really come to fight. He's fought Caleb Plant, he's fought Andrade, he's fought a higher level of competition, whereas David Morrell hasn't really fought anybody of note. I'd say his best opponent was Hot Rod Kaladzic in a fight in which he kind of struggled, I have to say, in his first fight at light heavyweight. Morrell didn't really look great against the boxing of Kaladzic, but having said that, I don't think Benavidez looked particularly great against Alexander Vodzik, a guy who really wasn't doing much for the majority of that fight, and I still felt Benavidez didn't look all that great. So both guys are going into this fight off the backs of pretty average performances where I saw holes in both guys' games. But, when you look at the styles of those two previous opponents, then I don't think it really has a massive bearing on this fight. I think one of the key aspects of this bout will be how Benavidez deals with Morrell's power. Because again, I look at Benavidez's record. Yeah, he fought Vodzik, who can punch, but Vodzik barely threw a punch in anger in that fight. He was throwing shoeshine shots, never really loaded up on any power shots. So Benavidez wasn't really caught in that fight by big punches, but he was tagged up, and his face was still marking up pretty badly. I do wonder how he takes Morrell's power if Morrell lands in full force, because we haven't really seen Benavidez take those sort of shots against guys who are in and around his size. He's taken a lot of shots against smaller guys, but not against guys of his size, so that'll be interesting. But at the same time, you look at that Kaladzic fight, Morrell's last fight, and he kind of gassed in that bout. He was chasing the fight, he was trying to put on pressure, and I felt in the second half at times he looked a little flat, like he was tired. Benavidez is going to make Morrell work a lot harder than Kaladzic did, with the volume, etc. He's going to take more out of Morrell's gas tank, so I do worry about Morrell's gas tank as well in the second half of this fight. And again, another thing is that Morrell loads up on a lot of his punches. He loads up a lot. So that again, if he can't get the respect of Benavidez and hurt him multiple times and, really put the fear of God into him, I do worry about him in the second half of this bout. The more I think about it, I think for Morrell to win this fight, he probably needs a knockout unless he can drop Benavidez a couple of times, because Benavidez is the A-side here. He's the guy who's got more money riding on him, so to speak. So any sort of close fight you would imagine will go to Benavidez, and the judges will justify it with work rate. So Morrell needs to come into this fight with a boxer-puncher mentality and really try and take Benavidez's head off. Because Morrell can counter as well. He's got relatively quick hands, particularly with the single shot, with the counter, with the reaction type shots. He's quite quick. And I think he may need to stop Benavidez to get the win here. Maybe he shows a different dynamic to his game that we've not seen. Of course, he comes from that Cuban amateur school. We haven't really seen Morrell fight in that traditional Cuban style. Maybe he implements a bit more boxing in this fight, because we saw again Benavidez really struggled with the movement of Caleb Plant in their fight for the first 6 rounds or so. Maybe Morrell tries to implement a bit of that. I actually think that could be a good idea because although Plant was having success against Benavidez, he never really deterred Benavidez from coming forwards. When Plant was boxing, he didn't deter Benavidez from coming forwards and applying pressure. Morrell has power, so he can be boxing on that back foot, set his feet momentarily and fire away. Maybe he can walk Benavidez into big shots and big power punches and big counters. Stylistically, I do actually believe Morrell has a lot to his game that could give Benavidez a lot of trouble. And when this fight has been spoken about for the last year or so, I've kind of been leaning towards Benavidez the whole time. But now it's made, I'm not quite so sure. It's a good fight, man. It's a really good fight. And I think the WBC interim title will be on the line. And the winner of this fight will be a good, viable option for the winner of Bivol versus Beterbiev 2, should that fight happen. The winner will be a viable contender. And I think the light heavyweight division needs that. And this fight crowns that contender. But yeah, both guys unbeaten. Both guys in their physical primes. I'm mulling it around in my mind. And if I had to pick right this second, right now, I'd probably still take Benavidez on points. But I'm nowhere near, I'm not confident at all, and this is not my final pick. But again, that means it's a good fight in my opinion. That means it's a good fight. But yeah, February the 1st, T-Mobile Arena, Las Vegas, David Benavidez versus David Morrell. I'm assuming, yeah, this is a PBC card, so I'm assuming it's on Amazon pay-per-view. But yeah, what do you guys think of this fight? I'm kind of intrigued to hear your opinions on how you see this fight going, because I'm not sure. But anyway, share your thoughts below. Beanie Guy Delboy, peace.